Welcome to the Cast and Camo podcast, where we talk about hunting, fishing, and all things outdoors. Grab your fishing rod, put on your favorite camo, or just sit back and enjoy this week's topic. Cast and Camo begins now.
Good evening, Cast and Camo fans. Can't say Vietnam because we're not in Vietnam.
Hi, Todd.
Hey, Eric. How are you doing?
Oh, just peachy. How are you?
I'm good. Have you bought your boat yet? Because you need it.
No, I haven't bought my boat. I gave up on my boat. I ain't going to do it.
What?
I already figured out I'm going to get a little belly raft, put around me, get in it, and go out and just float down the river.
Oh, you're going to use a float tube?
Yeah, kind of.
Is it going to be like a fishing float tube, or are you going to get one of those like pink unicorn ones that go around your waist and some arm floaties?
I'm not going to put a banana and ride the banana down the river. I'm going to actually get in a little thing and little duck paddles on my feet. And
I think we have a sound bite somewhere about you talking about riding the big banana.
No.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
I think we do.
No, we don't.
Okay.
It left the building.
Left the building? All right. Well, maybe it's hiding with that Sasquatch episode. We'll try to track it down. Speaking of, we were going to do a little Sasquatch hunt episode tonight, but then Mother Nature happened. And I'll be honest, Eric, I don't know if there's any Sasquatches left in your area. They might have all been swept away.
I was told by Reynolds. Do you remember him?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, he told me they go in the ground when it floods. Yeah. They go in the ground and they hide. And they stay right there, Sasquatches do, until the water recedes.
Oh. Okay, I mean, I'm no scientist, but I think if you were to go underground where there's flooding, that would be even worse. But that's just me.
No, they have caves underground.
Oh, they build the caves. Okay, so
yeah, they build caves. They have little fireplaces. Now the only problem is the smoke can't get out of their holes.
Are they smoking weed down in their caves or what?
No. It's just to keep warm.
Oh,
because I'm sure it's cooler down underground right now.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless they go really deep and get down there where the lava is.
Well, I mean, they might. Maybe that's why we can never find them. Maybe that's where they're hiding.
That's true.
Never know. It's possible.
That's true. Yeah, it is possible.
Or one of the things that, and I know we're not doing the Sasquatch episode tonight, but who doesn't love to talk about the Sasquatch? Maybe Sasquatches hide in the ocean with the aliens underwater. Has anybody brought that theory up? I don't know that I've heard that theory, but we could start that theory.
Well, I think most Sasquatches, from what I've seen, live in Minnesota.
Wow. I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, have you ever seen Soggy?
Well,
when he's
with the beard, you mean?
Fishing? Yeah. Doesn't he look like Sasquatch?
I mean,
and
no.
Buzzard?
No,
when Buzzard had his long hair? I mean, you couldn't tell.
Well, yeah, you mix old Buzzard with current Soggy, and you've
got a Sasquatch.
You've got something special there with the long hair and then the long beard. The beard, I think Soggy's beard is as long as Buzzard's hair was at this point. I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna send him a comb and a curling iron.
Maybe.
I think he'll look beautiful when he's done. Yep.
Well, but anyway, we've talked about it before. Soggy he is the doppelganger of not Marilyn Manson, but Charlie Manson. Not Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson. Good old Chuck. Soggy's Chuck Manson's doppelganger. It's uncanny. You remember when we looked at those pictures side by side?
Yes.
It's unreal.
No, I don't have to look at them. I got hugged by one of them things.
The Sasquatch.
I can tell you personally.
Special
they smell like garlic.
We're going so far off track, but I have to do this. So in preparation of tonight's show,
he left.
I had ordered a couple things. And there was one hat that I wanted, or I think it was a shirt I wanted to get for you because the shirt said, I think it was something along the lines of, I found Sasquatch and he ate my ass. And I thought, if there's ever been a t-shirt on Amazon that Eric needs more than this, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But I got this hat, Bigfoot expert.
I need
fantastic.
Yep.
I know, right?
Perfect for hunting.
And then I got this one as well. Go this way.
I see. Yeah,
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
So when we do, the hat is a little ridiculous, but I have the green version of this that's gone squatching, which I'm going to order one of those again because now it's I've had it for too long and it's kind of nasty.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get a shirt that says I've been hugged by Squatch.
I can make you one. You want me to make you one? I'll make you one.
I think that would be, get a nice, almost like my Sea Ark.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sea Ark.
Yeah, Reaper, we're talking about shrooms tonight. When everybody asks me today, what's the topic? I'm like, mushrooms, and they're like, ooh. And then they get sad when they realize that we're not necessarily talking about, I think it's psilocybin. Is that what the word is? I learned that from somebody, something like that.
Someone saying yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk mushrooms. We've had Jaime on the show before, and backed by popular demand, we're going to bring Jaime in here in just a minute. But we've got our housekeeping to take care of as normal as we start every week. If you're watching on Twitch, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us live. It is different. I think that was some of the feedback that we got from Hank last week was live. You do this live? I'm like, yeah. There's no take two. It's all live, baby. But if you're watching live and you want to check out previous episodes, you can do so multiple different ways. You can go to YouTube, check us out on YouTube, Cast and Camo TV on YouTube. You can go to our website, www.castandcamotv.com. All the previous episodes are on the website. Also, any link to every single guest that we've ever had on the show is all there, as well as the merch. I have to upload some more pictures. We got to add some more pictures to the website. Maybe build out some more cool things on the websites there. We might as well do something fun with it. But yeah, check out all of the episodes. And if you find us on YouTube, please give us a subscribe, like, and comment our videos. I think I'm jinxing it. I know I'm jinxing it, but I think we had some catastrophes at work this past week, but I think I might be starting to get in the clear a little bit. So I'm hoping to have a little bit more time to maybe start doing some shorts and doing some actual work and some content. Rim, thanks for that subscription. And I saw Deer Butch with the resub. Thank you, everybody. And if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts later, and you're wondering who the hell are they talking to, we are live on Twitch. Find us on Twitch every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, under the name Cast and Camo. And if you want to hang out with us and throw your 2 cents into our chat for us to ignore along with everybody else, feel free. That's what we're here for. We're here to ignore as many people as possible. That's what we do. But we'll of course say hi to everybody as much as we can. And I am doing 9 things all at once, so I missed quite a bit. I think Eric keeps an eye on it a little bit more than I do. But everybody that's in chat, thank you and welcome. If you are in Twitch chat and you want to know about any of our sponsors, follow all of the commands that we've got set up. ! BBQ Texas Select Seasonings. Eric, you gave me the big news today. He's not ending business, right? He's just rebuilding a home.
He's starting over again. He sold his home. He's tired of dealing with catastrophes from the ocean. Yeah. He had to rebuild once. He got hit again last year. So he is moving to East Texas. He's in the process of building a home and rebuilding his business. But his stuff is still up. You can still order.
Absolutely. And I plan on it.
And he actually has something new. And I don't know if you've looked at his website.
It's been a few weeks.
He actually has, what is it called? Let me think. Give me a second. I'll bring it up real quick. I know. Isn't that horrible? Let's see. I'll bring it up here. Just 1 second. Brand new seasoning. Or it's not a seasoning. It's actually like a what's it called here?
Is it a sauce?
Yeah.
Special sauce?
Special sauce. Lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
No pickles.
No pickles.
Hold the pickles. Actually, don't hold the pickles. Throw them damn things away. Throw them out the window.
Well, you don't have pickles are not good for you.
No.
All right, so it's salted vodka and grapefruit barbecue glaze.
I might have some of that from him.
So he was kind of talking about it a little bit, and it's starting to really grow big. So it comes in 16-ounce jars. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look in the pantry after the show. I think he sent me one of those.
So I definitely want to try that.
Okay.
I think that would be interesting to try.
Yeah, if it's flying off the shelves, which sounds like it should be.
So it's got a hickory smoked jalapenos in it.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm going to think of that.
Might be a little too spicy for your appetite.
Maybe. But it says you pour it into a squeeze bottle and then apply it.
Oh.
Put it over your chicken or stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, if I do have it, I'll give it a shot on some chicken or something. I'll let you know how it tastes. Yeah. All right. That was Texas Select Seasonings, ! BBQ. We put that in the chat as well. ! Sea Arc boats. It's boat season, and everybody in the South needs a boat right now because I don't think we have an Arc coming. I don't think they're building one. I haven't heard any news stories. So everybody's left to fend for themselves, and you don't want to just be floating around with your arm floaties because a branch might come sweeping down from the river and pop your arm floaties, and now you're stuck. Get a Sea Arc boat. Float around in your Sea Arc boat. Erica, you would be floating around in a Sea Arc boat right now if you had one, right? You'd be out there fishing. You might not. All you have to do is open your door, walk outside, and hop in your boat.
Yeah, but you could buy me a new Sea Arc boat. That would be nice.
Maybe.
Look, only $72,000.
Okay. Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. We'll be out on the river next week, people. Streaming live.
All right. ! Deer 30. Put that in the chat. That gets you to Deer 30's website. And we say it all the time because there's really not a bad time to get ready for deer season. It's always deer season in our heads, I think. But 24%, you get 24% off. Discount code CAST and Camo 24 to get 24% off your order. I forgot to mention 4 Texas Select seasonings, CAST and Camo in all caps gets you 15% off your order there. And get all your minerals. Get it going.
Did you know that they have free shipping now on Deer 30?
Do they really?
Everything free shipping.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
I didn't. Well, their website just came back up.
Come
For crying out loud.
on. All right.
I'll buy you a Sea Arc boat if you buy me all of the Deer 30 stuff. How about that?
Oh, we're on. We're on.
Yeah, we're on to something. We're on something. Talking about mushrooms. All right. Exclamation point Vexen gets you to Vexen Fishing. Vexen.com, VEXAN. Discount code CAST and Camo in all lowercase gets you 15% off your order. Rods, reels, and it's time. It's time to start going fishing, man. You gotta get your gear now. And might as well get it at 15% off. I still haven't shipped Gamers shirts because I'm a shut-in and I never leave my basement or my house. But I'll get them to them at some point. Some one of these days. Or maybe I'll just order some new ones. I don't know. Keep these for myself. And last but not least, if you like all natural products, exclamation point Bees gets you to Oh Behave. Cast and Camo in all caps gets you 10% off your order. Good products, good for you, good stuff, and homemade. And last but not least, if you want to join the Discord, exclamation point Discord in our chat, all of these links on YouTube will be down below in the description. Same with Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, and SoundCloud. I guess I never mentioned SoundCloud. We push from SoundCloud out to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So some people like to listen on SoundCloud as well. So last week we had the one and only Hank Shaw. So far, until you can get Bill Dance on the show, so far he's probably the most famous person we've had on the show. And we had a good time. And, to tie it together with tonight, Hank is, I wouldn't say he's the king of foraging because Jaime is the queen of foraging, in my opinion. But he's up there. He knows what he's talking about. So, and I actually met Hank through Jaime, and we met Jaime from the show. So it's funny how that all works, But that was
I just found out Jim Bortz knows him.
Jim Bortz knows Hank? That doesn't surprise me.
Yes,
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. I was
shocked. Yeah. You
were shocked, really?
Yeah, I didn't think it was like. Isn't he from Minnesota too?
Yeah, he's lived here. He lived in California, and
he met him out west.
Okay. Yeah. They're both the type of people that kind of know everybody in that realm. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. But anyway, this week we're bringing back Jaime because we wanted to talk mushrooms. So let's bring Jaime in on the show. There she is, looking all glorious and glowing. What's up, Jaime? How are you doing?
I'm great.
Excellent.
Good to be back. Yeah, this is fun.
It is good to be back. It's good to have you back. You were a fan favorite. You're one of the favorite episodes from people, and it was looking for the right time to have you come back. And since it is mushroom season, why not do it now, right?
Yeah, it's a good time to prep. It's not quite there. We got a few weeks, but yeah, now's a good time to talk about it and learn about it and get excited about it.
I'm curious to know, like, Eric has been itching to get out looking for the morels, and we're going to talk plenty of morels tonight. And that's going to be our recipe at the end of the show is going to be the morel or a morel. And it's not just throw some butter and some salt in a pan and saute it. I wanted to go, I don't know that I'd say fancy, but it's fancy for me. I don't think I've ever had a risotto. We're going to talk about a morel risotto. Have you ever had a risotto, Eric?
No, I take the egg and the flour and dip them and frying pan with the butter. Oh, there is nothing. Listen, you got to turn into a mushroom king.
I mean, I would like to find some morels. I would try. Everybody loves morels. So I would, it's the one that I would be the most willing to try. Of course, I would need Jamie to hold my hand because I don't know the first thing of what I'm doing. And I trust her.
No, you just pick it up and put it in your mouth. You don't
I
need
don't think
anyone
so.
to hold your hand to put it in your mouth.
I don't know.
It'll be all right.
And we haven't talked to Jamie on the show since. So she came on the show, and then I actually hired Jamie for a private event, and she came to the land where I do all my hunting streams, and we went foraging, and it was hot as balls that day, and most of the family kind of pansied out. They want to deal with the heat and the mosquitoes. But Jamie and I and one or two others really stuck it out, and I'm glad we did because it was one of the coolest experiences. And I wish there was more people like you out there, Jamie, and maybe there isn't. I just only know you, but
there's a couple of us out there. Yeah,
it was really cool to be able to have somebody that knows what they're talking about as far as mushrooms go, and bring them to your land and learn about the land that you hunt and are on all the time. And I've probably been walking past these mushrooms for years and never paid any attention to them, never had any idea what they were. And so to actually be out there and Jamie brings pictures and mushrooms to show as examples, and it wasn't quite the same as being out in the field, which was really cool. I very much enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too much of a torture for you because it was a long drive for you.
No, that's super fun. I love that part. Like, I love that, like bringing that to people that you've been on that land for however many years and, out there looking for deer, or I don't know if you turkey hunt out there too, but then to have like that extra bonus of, getting other food while you're out there. I just feel like hunters should really, of all people, know their mushrooms. So I'm glad that you did that, even though you don't necessarily like mushrooms, or you don't know that you do yet. You just need to try more.
I'm more open to trying it than ever. And so the first mushroom I ever ate, knowingly, I'm sure one has snuck in a spaghetti sauce or a pizza here and there, and I would never know. But was with you when we met up at the bar, and you were nice enough to cook a few chanterelles before you showed up, and they were still warm, and I was very, very nervous, but I pulled it off. Eric, you would have been proud of me.
So you never told me, did you like them or not?
Yeah. I mean, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever had ever, but I wasn't ready to vomit either. If that makes any sense, which for me, that's a big win. You hand me a pickle and I bite into a pickle, I'm going to start gagging almost instantly. But it was, and I think I made the comment, I think I mentioned this last week. I made the comment like, well, I tried to look for the video and then she deleted it right away, apparently.
No, it was a story. They're only up there for 24 hours.
Little did I know I would have recorded it.
I still got it.
Okay, good. But I think I compared it to a calamari, and some people gave me a hard time for having eaten calamari but never have eaten a mushroom. Like, I don't know. To me, calamari is it's an animal of life form animal, not a plant or a fungus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say it's easier to get calamari at the store than a chanterelle or even a morel, or at a restaurant, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that's too weird.
I didn't think it was, but some people did. But it was, and I told Jamie, I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
There was
I guess
was
it's good that you've never had any mushrooms before, but yeah.
There was bound to be a little emotional damage, and there was a little emotional damage, but I survived it and willing to try others. And I would everybody just raves about morels. And so I've never had one. I've only found them once in my life and it was in my backyard randomly, just completely random. And I would love to try those. So I'm hoping maybe this year I can find one. Maybe Jamie will take me out and I can find one. All I need is one. That's all
That's what I do. Yeah, you're talking to the right person. So we'll do what we can. And yeah, I realize that a lot of your listeners aren't in Minnesota, and I will just admit out firsthand is like all my experiences Minnesota and maybe Wisconsin, but I don't know much. It's a little bit different in different areas with different trees, but I'm sure a lot of this stuff will still apply.
I would assume so. Yeah. Baby bellas are my favorite mushroom. Baby bellas. I don't even know what that is. I know what the bellas are from Pitch Perfect. I know what that is.
I don't know what that is, but yeah, baby bellas, portobellas, and the white button mushrooms are all the same mushroom. Yeah, they're just. I don't know if it has to do with the light or something, but they're all the Agaricus bisporus mushroom when you look at the scientific name.
So, Jamie, I was out mushroom hunting last week on, I think it was Wednesday, before we got all of our storms and tornadoes and all the rain. I found a couple of bright, brilliant red mushrooms, and they call them some kind of a cup. They look like a cup.
Scarlet cup.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Scarlet cup.
Yeah, that's one of the first mushrooms to come out. Yeah, they are edible, and those are one of the mushrooms that you can actually eat raw. Like for a general rule of thumb, you want to cook all wild mushrooms, but the scarlet cup is one that you can eat raw and just kind of put on your salads.
I could see that thing for 100 yards coming up through the woods, and it stuck out so well in the woods and so bright red. Yeah. It's like I've never seen one until last week. Cool. That's the first one I've ever ran across. And I looked it up. I took a picture of it with my phone, and it came up with that mushroom. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they are cool. They're so small and fragile, so it's not one that people normally collect to bring home and eat, but they are fun to just be like, and pop one in your mouth. But
I didn't even touch it. I just walked past it after I looked at it and took a picture of it. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's the if you want to know the technical term for it or the scientific term here, because I am now an expert, it is the Sarcosphia cochnea.
As long as you don't start talking about the morel mushrooms, all their names, because there's like how many names are on the morel?
It's one of the reasons I don't trust mushrooms, because I think people like Jamie have just made these names up to make it almost impossible for normal people to pronunciate them. Like those aren't for real.
With confidence, Todd, say it with confidence, and nobody knows. Like I don't know. Everybody says them different. I swear to God.
That's true.
I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't focus on the scientific names.
So before we get too heavy into the morels, because I think that is going to be a pretty big focus. What I wanted to touch on is one of the big events of the year for Jamie, which I helped out with in December, was the now I'll let Jamie say it because I have in my head it's my own name. It's the Forest Fair, right?
Yeah.
The Forest Fair. And so Jamie, if you could talk about it a little bit, kind of explain what the Forest Fair is, what it was, who was there, and maybe what the inspiration for coming up with this was. Just a little bit, because we do have a lot of people in Minnesota in chat and that listen. So, and it's going to be an annual item, right?
Yeah, I already have the date this year. So it's called the Holiday Forest Fair, and I have it right before Christmas. I think this was the 4th year. So are we going on the 5th? And it's a mix of, we have a lot of nature themed vendors, and there's definitely a lot of mushroom themed or, vendors, but also just anything to do with the forest. Not so much hunting, more of the foraging kind of crowd so we have 40 to 45 different vendors, and it's held at the Mustard Seed Garden Center in Chaska, Minnesota. This year it'll be December 13th, and we also have speakers. So like throughout the whole day, about every hour, I have a different speaker, and we had some amazing speakers this last year. In the foraging world, Sam Thayer is like the god of edible plants, so he was there. He actually did 2 different talks because somebody else wasn't able to make it, so he just thought of something to talk about and did kind of a bonus talk. And Alan Burgo was there again, forager chef, which he's the god of the, like cooking wild foods and mushrooms. So he did a talk as well. So there's like 8 different speakers, and we had an excellent sound system there. Todd took care of the sound system. He was my hero, so that we could actually hear the people and have music. And then we had some, like a food truck, and we had I got some special mushrooms, some lion's mane mushrooms, and had this Mexican food truck make lion's mane tacos so that we could have some mushroom themed tacos. And yeah, so it's just about 6 hours long, and so you can shop and learn, and it's fun. Like it's kind of a small community, and it's a place where the mushroom and forest friends can just kind of come together and hang out. And a lot of people did hang out all day. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah,
they wanted to learn it all and see it all. So
I'll be honest. I was, outside of being nervous just because I had an enormous amount of responsibility on my shoulders that day, that I'm not sure I fully understood the level of responsibility I was going to have, but it worked out. And I had fun, but I was a little nervous because I think you probably caught on to that. And Eric, I think you're going to get it too. When, as a hunter and a fisher person, when you start going around people that in the perception is that they're against hunting, it's a little nerve wracking. When you're going to be surrounded by people that you don't know if they're going to look down on you for being a hunter. And so I was a little nervous, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at the level of interest that from the people that I talked to that were there, wanting to learn and understand hunting. And that was, for me, and I don't know that I've even talked about this with you. That was probably one of my favorite parts about that day, was people that I talked to that were actually curious to know about hunting, not in a sense of how could you kill an animal, but it was more of, I want to understand your aspect. And that was actually really cool to have adult conversations with adults that may be on different aspects of outlook on things, and to just understand each other. It was actually pretty cool. But it was a super awesome event. Jaime pulled off an incredible event, and I look forward to helping out again next year and maybe making even bigger and better. Who knows?
Yes. Thank you again for helping. Yeah, you were my hero. I had 1 hour of sleep. I could not sleep the night before, so I was a zombie the whole day. And so I had so many people just filling in and helping me out. So yeah.
So Eric, you've used like wireless microphones when you're out fishing, streaming, right?
Yep.
So when Jaime first approached me about helping out with the sound system, she's like, I need a wireless microphone for my speakers, the people speaking. And in my head, I'm going, I got like 4 of them, piece of cake. That's not a problem. And then after I was like, yeah, we got this. I got this. And then I started thinking about it. And if you realize, well, it's a little different, because when we're using our microphones, our wireless mics, when we're out streaming, it's going into your phone or the Bella box or whatever. Right. And it's here. All of a sudden I realized, I'm like, I don't have an output. I need speakers but if I have speakers, how in the world am I going to get my wireless mics into those speakers? I'm going to need a lot more equipment than I realized. And I kind of went into panic mode. And I wasn't going to tell Jaime that I was in panic mode, but I was in a little bit of panic mode once I realized how deep I was. But we got it figured out. Worked out.
Yeah, you kept telling me to trust you, and I didn't want to, but I just had to, and you pulled through.
Yeah. All right. So morels. Now, one of the things that, because Eric is chomping at the bit, and and Jaime, you might not know this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. With all the flooding that's going on around Eric, And this being, because Eric, this is normally the time where the morels start showing up, right? Like right around right now for you guys.
It's now. Yeah.
Does the flooding? You think the flooding impacts that? Is there a chance that the morels in his area or in that the Missouri Plains, will they not show up, or will it just be delayed? Do you have any idea what the flooding might do?
I can't speak with certainty, but I have a very strong feeling that it will affect them, especially if it goes into the season at all. Like it just gets so saturated, and mushrooms don't like to be that wet. So I think it depends mostly on how long it's flooded. So if it's flooded for a day or two, it probably wouldn't affect it too much. But if it's underwater, if it's going to be underwater for a week and then really soggy after that, the season is so short. It's like 3 to maybe 4 weeks or so, at least it is up here. So if it's already into the season and it's flooded, I would search higher ground. But please let me know if you find differently, because I
think one of the things that we kind of talked about today is we have a place across the river that I've gone to, and it's in a flood zone, but we find mushrooms there. Now, it wasn't flooded that year, though.
Yeah.
We found them. So I don't know if a flood like that, when you got 20 foot of water rushing over top of property and through trees and that, whether it takes all that stuff off the ground that is going to try to grow,
right,
or whatever. And I know morel mushrooms are really, if you get a real hard rain, it'll beat them to death to where they're nothing.
Yeah.
Also, or they'll rot real quick on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to look down here, because I can tell you right now, looking at our river stage, we went up 2 days ago and it crossed onto our property. We won't have, it'll be 2 weeks before we even see dirt down there.
Yeah.
If it doesn't rain no more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I'd look other places, especially if it's going to be that long, for sure.
Right.
But it will next year, though. It'll grow there again next year if it doesn't flood right before. Yeah. Because they love to grow in floodplains. That's kind of the first place people like to look. They have the right trees. Around here, it's elms and cottonwoods,
Right.
ash are great trees for morels. So that's kind of where you like to go.
So what do you think comes off of the elm tree? I was talking to a person today about this. What do you think comes off the elm or the cottonwood? Is it the bark that falls down on the ground and leaves whatever in the ground for that morel to grow? What exact, and here's the other question with that. Do you normally see them grow next year, or is it 7 years down the road that piece of bark from that elm tree or cottonwood or whatever tree it is, an apple tree? Because when I lived in PA, we had them around a lot of apple orchards, old apple orchards, where the bark was falling off of them. They seem to grow there a lot. Do you think there's a time frame? Do you think that goes into the dirt and 20 years may pop up morels then?
Okay, so yeah, I think it depends on the tree. So if we're talking about elm trees, I think elms are a little bit different than the other ones that you're mentioning. So morels love to associate with elm trees, and so mushrooms in general. So the fungus itself is almost always underground. It has mycelium, these little roots and stuff. They're in the dirt. And the morel mushroom and other mushrooms that grow on the ground are associated usually with certain types of trees. They like certain types of trees better. So they're interacting, the mycelium and the tree roots are kind of like feeding each other. So they're with certain trees because they benefit each other. And they get there from the spores. So when the mushroom, the pops up, that's the fruiting body. And so then the mushroom releases its spores and it'll, get blown around, and it'll then it just happens to find the right conditions for it to grow with, somewhere else. So it'll find another elm tree or cottonwood or something. And then that's how it starts growing with other trees too. But what they think with the elm trees is the mycelium is in the ground, but the mushrooms don't start growing until that elm tree starts dying.
Yeah.
So
debarks. That's why I said I always find them around a lot of times here where it's peeling. The tree's been peeling and you have bark laying around on the ground. That it seems like that's a big attraction here.
Yes. So elms are different because some of the other trees, they don't need to be dying, but so we'll stick with the elms because for now at least, because those are the best trees around here. Can you confirm that's the same down there, that the elms are? Yeah,
they're the same.
Yeah. So the morels aren't going to grow until that tree starts dying. So once the tree starts dying, you've got maybe, we'll just say roughly 5 years that the mushrooms are going to start, or that they'll associate with that tree. So the first and second year are like the very best years, and you'll get the most mushrooms associated with that dead elm. So if you can find an elm tree that, it has recently died, the bark is still on it, but it's just starting to like break away, from the main base of the tree. So you can see it starting to separate. Maybe it's starting to slough off a little bit, but the more it's sloughing, the less mushrooms you'll find. So the less bark, the less mushrooms. If I don't see any bark on a tree, I'm not even
walk right past.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like literally walking by it because I have to, I'll look on the ground. But so the more bark, the better. But yeah, if there's, I would say like a quarter of the tree still has bark, I think there's still a chance that there'll be some mushrooms. But once it's done, then the mushrooms aren't going to grow anymore. And then you have to find other trees. And usually, if you have an elm tree that's dying, usually there's other elms in the area. So, it's a good spot, the right conditions, the right soil type or whatever. So you'd want to, stick to that area. But when people say that they have honey holes, I've had so many people come up and say, oh, I've got this honey hole and I found like 20 pounds. And I'm like, oh, wow. How long ago was that? Well, that was like, 15 years ago. I'm like, okay, well, it's not your honey hole anymore. It might be a good spot.
That was my next question. Since you brought up a honey hole, I've had where I find, when I lived in PA especially, find 100 mushrooms. I think that's the most that I actually found in one group.
Mm-hmm.
I went back there the next 5 years and maybe found one mushroom or none.
Yeah.
Do you think that ever comes back, or do you think that's done?
Yeah, it can. Yep. Because you have to have enough moisture. So it might be, 1 year you had the right conditions, the right amount of moisture and the right amount of heat, and it just was the very perfect conditions. Then maybe the next year or two, you didn't get many mushrooms. But then in that case, maybe it was really dry. It was a drought. So if it was a drought, I would expect you could find it again. But if it was good conditions and it's not growing, then I would say maybe the tree is just done.
Okay.
So if you can't.
Can they sit for 15 years before they come out? Is that a possibility?
What do you mean sit? Like, can the mycelium be in the ground?
Yes, for 15 years before it actually, and that tree may have fell over and is dead. I mean, is that what I'm saying? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I don't know the answer for sure, but the mycelium is in the ground. And like I was saying, that's what's weird about the elms. It's that they don't start popping until they're dying. So it had to be there.
Right.
But actually, now that maybe I'll retract that. Once a tree is dead, it doesn't have the food anymore. So they're like feeding each other. So then it doesn't have the food. But morels are like they're like a different animal from most mushrooms. And I don't want to get into the weeds, but they're called a mycorrhizal mushroom. That's when they're feeding off of each other, the trees are feeding the mushrooms and vice versa. And then there's also a saprophytic mushroom, and that's a mushroom that feeds off of dead wood. So you see a lot of mushrooms that love to grow on dead trees. So some people say that a morel mushroom can be both mycorrhizal and saprophytic, depending on the stage of like its life or something. So it's just one that's like really complicated. So I think though, like in general, like once the tree dies, it doesn't have the food. So maybe the mycelium would then die, or either just like move over if there's another elm tree nearby that it can feed off of the tree, even if it's alive, then it's getting the nutrients from the live tree. So I think it can just be in the ground then until that tree dies. So
well, I know a lot of people, I've heard people say, well, I found them around oak trees. I have never found them around an oak tree. As much as I've looked for them every year, I'm of course, here we don't have very many oak trees.
Okay.
But we have a lot of cottonwood,
Mm-hmm.
And they supposedly grow around the cottonwoods quite a bit also. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I just, when I look for an oak tree, then I'm looking for a hen of the woods. You know what I mean? In the fall. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
I find them with oak trees quite often, actually, but percentage wise, like your best bet is to go for the elms.
Yeah.
You will find them with oaks, just not nearly as often. And what I've found, at least in my experience, is I find them with oak trees at the very end of the morel season. So I don't find them if the season is 4 weeks long, I'm finding them with the oaks the last week of the season. I don't know if that's like I don't know why, but that's what I've found. And I haven't really, I'll say a lot of people don't find them with oaks. So I don't really get to talk to many people about it. And I'm curious if that's across
Now,
the
is there a difference between them morels when they're little gray ones that pop up first? Here, we get the wee little gray ones that first show up. And then you'll get like a gray mushroom that is about 2 inches long. And then towards the 3rd week, you'll get the big white mushrooms.
Yeah.
It seems
They're
to
all
happen.
the same.
So,
They're all the same.
So is there a reason between them? I mean,
it's the same mushroom. It's just a young, usually now
Age.
also I'm going to say, like, there's a ton of different species of morels, but usually what we're talking about, the normal common morel mushroom that we talk about is the common name would either be the yellow morel or the blonde morel. But the Morchella americana is the scientific name, which generally is what everybody is after. And it just starts out gray when it's young and it turns yellow as it gets older. So it's when people talk about the grays, if the grays are way better, like, no, they're just younger.
right.
And so what you're seeing is the same mushroom, just at a different age.
Okay.
And sometimes when they're big, they're gray too. Like the colors, everything that I say is like usually. So there's always.
I just noticed that I get some big white mushroom morels.
Yeah.
And then, like in the early part of the season, I get the small ones and then the medium ones. And then towards like the 3rd week, that's when you start finding when there's maybe more growth on the forest floor.
So
you get
I know,
the big white ones.
The people didn't hear our conversation before we got on, but you said that you had found some small ones that didn't grow, but like they do grow. They don't pop overnight. That they can take up to 2 weeks or so to grow that big, those really big ones that you see. Now, like, so It does depend on the weather. Like if it's really hot, they grow faster and stuff. But if it's a nice, cool spring, it'll take a good 2 weeks for them to get that big. So I think those little ones that you found, if the conditions were right, they would have grown. But for some reason, they just got stunted. But that's why you're seeing
I know
the
the
big
deer love the morels because I've seen where the deer are walking along, biting the tops
Just
right
browsing
out
on
of them.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
You've actually seen them do that?
Well, no, I find the mushrooms and see where
okay.
the deer have been there, and they're bit right out of the top, like you get an
Well,
apple out in the woods where they bite into it.
Yeah, okay. I have a hard time knowing if it's from a deer or if, a person was there and just ripped off. But yeah, a person wouldn't take half of the mushroom. But if
Yeah,
you just see a
right.
stump, you don't know if
Yeah,
a deer ate
something's
it.
biting right out of the top on the deer trails when I find them along a deer trail like that.
Yeah, deer do eat them. I just I don't know how to know what's been eating them. I think other animals eat them too.
Well, we're going to get
How
Todd to
dare
put
they.
up his camera
Yeah.
on a morel, and we'll watch that morel and see what eats that morel.
Well, that seems like it would be a waste of a good mushroom.
Right. There we go. He's learning.
Just
got
watch
a couple
something else.
questions there, Todd, in chat.
Yep, I saw that. So the first one is for Jamie. Well, they're both for Jamie because nobody ever wants to know our opinions on anything. Can you use a downed tree to establish a cluster using morel pegs, or does that only work in semi-sterile environments?
Morel pegs? Are we talking about growing mushrooms?
I think so. Using a downed tree to establish a cluster of morel pegs. Spawn pegs.
I don't have any experience with growing mushrooms, but morels, they can kind of grow anywhere. I would say a down tree would not be a good spot just because the wild ones don't grow with down trees unless that tree fell down like the year before. You'd still have some luck, but I really can't talk about growing morels because I would just be making stuff up.
I know it's hard for them to grow, to try to make them grow because a lot of people have tried it, and some people have some success with it.
There is some success, but the amount of effort that goes into that success is
very expensive.
People will take their mushroom scraps or, if they wash their morels, they'll pour the water and the scraps out in their yard. And some people will say like, oh yeah, I got a couple mushrooms to pop up, like a couple, but so there's nothing wrong in trying, but just nobody has had like great success. I think, is it China now? China and Denmark, they've had some success growing morels. So it's happening, but it's just not happening real fast.
I think that's fake news. All right. Thank you for that.
If I didn't get the question right, that maybe they can comment, like if I just didn't get what they were asking. But
no, I mean Cheryl won't be shy. She'll throw it out there, but I think you were targeting what she was trying to throw at you. So the next question, is it true that you should use a netted bag to gather mushrooms so that spores fall out and spread over the area?
There's nothing wrong with that. But I'll say I never have a trail of mushrooms growing behind me where I walked through the woods in the past. So, the mushrooms do a pretty good job of spreading the spores, even before you pick them. So yes, absolutely. The spores will drop out as you walk if you have a mesh bag or a basket. So it could help. There hasn't been any like real scientific proof that shows that humans have, helped out. Then the forest is solid by spreading the morels around. So I would say, yes, go ahead and do it, but it's, don't expect that there's going to be a trail of mushrooms behind you. The thing that I don't love about the mesh bags is that they do tend to grate up your mushrooms, like as they're walking, they're kind of shifting in the bag, and then you're honestly, like you're kind of shaving off some of that mushroom, and some of it'll fall into the bottom of the bag. But I highly recommend using baskets for that reason. The mushrooms will stay nicer and in better conditions, and then the spores can get through the basket holes and stuff as well. So I didn't mean to be wishy-washy about that, but you're not doing anything wrong if you're not using a mesh bag. I think the only thing is just don't use a plastic bag. And that's even okay if it's not like that hot, but if it's hot at all, like the mushrooms will sweat and the mushrooms can kind of decompose or break down. So just don't keep them in there for long. Yeah, just all the moisture from the mushroom.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picturing Misty out in the woods foraging and picking up her mushrooms, then spanking the mushroom as she's walking around to get those spores out.
Yeah, a lot of people, there's some mushroom hunters that they always like tap on the mushrooms before they pick them, just to kind of like knock out extra spores. And yeah.
Now, Eric, you were talking last week when we were talking with Hank about throwing your morels into salt water, right?
Yes.
Jamie,
I put them in.
Go ahead, Eric.
I just put them in salt water when I get home to get the bugs out, kind of clean them for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I just let a little bit of water run over them to wash them out. And then I sit them on paper towels for a few minutes. And then I put them in, I'll actually put them in I don't know, baggies and that, and then put them in the refrigerator for that night. I usually eat them when I get them very, very quickly.
That's good. Yeah, you should. I don't. With morels, they are 100% best fresh. So of course, if you hit the mother lode, you're gonna want to preserve some, but enjoy as much as you can fresh. I personally don't really soak my mushrooms unless they are pretty dirty, and I don't soak them for quite that long. But I don't, some people are really persnickety about, oh, you shouldn't get your mushrooms wet, and I have never noticed a difference if you soak them or don't soak them. So again, I think that's totally fine. What I usually do is I use like a sink sprayer, and then that kind of gets in those grooves really well. So maybe soak it for a few minutes just to kind of loosen up any dirt, and then take that sprayer to get in there, because, just soaking them.
You always have ants in them. I don't know why, but every time I get morel mushrooms and bring them home, put them in the water, I always get ants in them.
Oh, really?
It just seems to be
but yeah, it's definitely not, I'll say like 3% of the time I'll find ants in them.
Yeah. Well, worms.
I've never found a worm in them.
No?
Slugs. I'll find slugs on them.
Yeah, slugs.
Yeah. That's usually what eats.
They're tasty though, Todd. You gotta you just put them in the frying pan with the morel mushrooms. They're great.
Extra protein? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, and since you're tasting morel mushrooms this year for the first time,
hopefully
try a slug.
Try a slug. I don't know.
I wanted to comment on the storage a little bit too. A lot of people ask about how to store mushrooms, and so this is interesting because I know you had Hank on last week, and I've been mushroom hunting for 17 years, and I had always heard put them in a brown paper bag with a damp paper towel, and then just kind of close up the paper bag, and that works great. I also think putting them in like cardboard boxes and a damp paper towel, that works great too. What I thought was interesting is that Hank, what he does is he puts them in a Tupperware container. So before this, I would have said, just don't store them in plastic, whatever you do, like they do at the grocery stores. I don't know why they do it in plastic, but what he says is put them in Tupperware and put a dry paper towel in there. So not damp, but dry, and seal it up tight. And then just change out that paper towel if it starts getting kind of damp. And I did try that last year and I had great success with that too. So I don't think they're all that picky about storing. And then the other really expert mushroom dude, the forager chef, Alan Burgo. So he's also a chef like Hank and has a lot of experience with storing mushrooms. And what he told me was to put them in a plastic bag and just leave the plastic bag open so it can breathe out a little bit. And I thought he was, just
pulling your leg.
Me.
Yeah. And the little bit that I met Alan, I would have thought the same thing.
Yeah. So I haven't tested that one yet. The brown paper bag and a damp paper towel works great for sure.
So have you found them around poplar much at all?
That would be a different type of morel. The black morels like to grow around poplar, aspen trees. Populus tremuloides. I don't know. Some people call it poplar, some call it aspen. So I'm in the metro, so the southern, like the bottom 2/3 or so of the state, but in the northern part of Minnesota, we have the black morels, and the black morels grow around the aspen trees. And so to find those, you want a really, really dense stand of aspen that are fairly young and like about the size of your forearm. So it's almost like hard to walk through. That's kind of the prime habitat for the black morels.
So what about the cottonwood? I know we talked earlier about trees dead, which we have one tree that's got to be dead dying for it to produce somewhere else. But then what about the cottonwood?
So it can be both with the cottonwood. It can be living, but apparently it should be sort of distressed a little bit, but it doesn't have to be actively dying, but it might just be a little stressed. So it can grow with living or dying cottonwood. So it's a little bit harder to target. When you're looking for the elm trees, you just look for the ones that are dead. But with the cottonwoods, I know you have to just kind of walk everywhere and eventually you'll stumble upon them. I don't have a ton of luck, but one of my best trees last year was a cottonwood. And the thing about that, which is cool, is that tree, it'll just keep growing with that tree.
So let me ask you something. How big was your cottonwood that was the best? I mean, are you talking younger cottonwood? Are you talking the older cottonwood?
The older cottonwoods are better. Yeah. Usually the bigger the tree, the more morels, but I'll say the most experience I have is with the elms. And I've had elm trees this big around that have been amazing. So I'm not gonna pass up any
right
dying
exactly
elm trees. The cottonwoods I just don't have as much experience with. So but generally the bigger the better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to try to go through the trees, and the only other one that I can think of maybe for Minnesota or here would be the apple tree.
Yeah. And that one I just haven't dabbled with because what they always say is with the like you want to find an old apple orchard, and then with apple orchards they've tended to use a lot of chemicals and stuff in the past when it was an actual orchard, and it can have arsenic in the soil, and mushrooms are great at soaking that up. So I've just heard so many people advising against that I just haven't tried it. And usually that's on private property, and I don't know, I don't feel the need to go ask to go hunting on an old apple orchard that might be, that might have toxic mushrooms.
I ain't dead yet, so I have ate them out of old apple orchards. I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know how much studies have gone into that sort of thing, but
that's the first test. Eric lived.
I lived so far.
Well, that doesn't kill you. It's not like, it's not that. It might build up in your system or something. Although I should mention that you do have to cook morels, and people have died from eating raw morels. So everybody cook them well. There's some, like I mentioned, that one Scarlet Cup, you can eat that raw, but definitely not morels. I'm sure so many people have eaten raw morels. It's just a couple times it's happened that people have died from it. So, and they don't taste good when they're not cooked. So just don't.
Oh, no.
Do it.
No. Yeah. Yucky.
The other tree that I wanted to mention is ash trees can be good depending on where you're at. And I live by Minneapolis, and it's not great here, but my friend that lives over in Wisconsin, he's like white ash all the way, living white ash, not dying, just healthy white ash trees. They can grow with green ash also, but white ash apparently is better. So you don't want to pass those up either. But then then it's like you're looking at every third tree when you're looking at the ash, you're looking at the oak, you're looking at the elm, you're looking at the cottonwood. Sumacs or another. Yeah.
It's nuts when you're out there trying to identify your trees too. And then once you learn them, then you're pretty good at it. You can go to that tree because like me and my son have a few trees we know that has grown mushrooms before, but we go back and then we don't find them, or we find one, and it just, you want to go back to them areas all the time because you found them there.
Oh yeah.
But then you end up 2, 3, 5 years and you're not finding but maybe one out of them 5 years afterwards. So
yeah, you got to keep trying new spots, but it's hard. You want to go back. Well, maybe this year.
Right. Them are the first spots we go to. Me and my son both go for the same spot every year. The first spot, because we're like, okay, if they're up, we're going to find them here. And then you don't find them there, and other people are getting them. And you're like, I
know, right?
Maybe I need to be back out there again and go somewhere else. Yeah.
Before I forget, I wanted to touch a little bit more on the trees. Like I just want to stress, like, that is the very best way to get better at finding mushrooms in general, like not just morels, but all trees. Cause like I said, usually they're associated with certain types of trees. And I'm going to plug myself a little bit. Like I do tree identification classes. Also, I have one next week in Minneapolis here, because like, as you know, like there's so many different ways to identify a tree, but if you're a mushroom hunter, you don't want to have to like look up and like find the leaves. And with morels, a lot of times the leaves aren't even out yet. So you got to learn to identify them by their bark. And there's so many like tips and tricks that you can learn. And it seems overwhelming, like if you're not paying it, not many people are paying attention to tree bark, but once you start looking and just learning a few things, they start looking completely different, or at least a lot of them. Some of them are harder than others. So if you do want to, it's definitely worth it. I always say you're not mushroom hunting, you're tree hunting. And then so hunt for the trees and pick the mushrooms.
That was when we did that, when you came out to do the hunt with us, I think that was the first thing I picked up on. Is normally, I would have thought going out foraging, looking for mushrooms, you're looking at the ground, walking around with your head down. And as I learned from you, it was, you're actually not, you're scanning the trees. And then once you see the tree that you want, then you look further, which I didn't know that, but it was, definitely one of the learning points.
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to cut you off.
In chat. No, just a couple of things in chat before we get past it here. Elm trees. And I know Butch has brought up in our chat about Chinese elms. I think mushrooms associate with almost all elm trees, if I'm not mistaken, the morel mushroom. I don't think it picks Chinese over a different type of elm tree, to be honest with you, does it?
It does prefer the American elm.
Yeah, but it will grow on the other elm trees, correct? From what I understand.
I've definitely found them on the slippery elm, and we don't have that many Chinese elms around here, so I have not yet found one around Chinese elms. But usually that's, like I can think of just a couple patches here and there that I even know where they are. But yes, I would say they can grow with any elm. It's just the percentage of time is probably not near as often with the other ones.
And the other question is, they want to know, do you cut the mushroom or pull the mushroom. And this has been a huge thing since I was a little kid. Remembering my granddad and my uncles, no, you got to cut it. No, you got to put it in a bag that the spores drop out. No, you don't. You don't have to do that because the spores have already left it. You know, just a million different things. So let's hear your...
It does not matter if you cut it or pluck it. You can pluck pluck it, and all the dirt and stuff will be stuck at the bottom of the mushroom. It does not harm the mycelium, the fungus itself. So the only thing I say is you have to cut the dirt off before you put it in your basket or your bag, or I will strangle you. Because it just makes so much work if you mix the mushrooms in
with the dirt.
Yeah, and especially morels, because they have all those little cups and stuff.
Those spores.
Yeah. Oh, no, you aren't hurting. I promise. I've done it for years, and I go back to the same spot, and they're there the next year. So
the knives that you guys were using, or that you had, like, you have knives. I'm like, yeah, I got knives. We got hunting knives. I bring out the old buck knife. And Jamie's got these cute little, like, rounded knives for cutting the mushrooms. I'm like, yeah, that would work pretty darn well. I like that.
Yeah, that brush is so handy to have. Yeah, the little rounded thing. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. It's kind of fun, but the brush, I love having the brush, and it's worth spending the time brushing off the dirt in the field. And to me, I'd rather be out in the woods anyways than in the kitchen. So I'd rather be brushing mushrooms off in the woods than in the kitchen. I have to let the dog out.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Jamie's house sitting and pet sitting, so we're interrupting the flow. She's got to take care of the puppers.
She'll be back up here in about a minute or so, but
that's fine. You're perfectly fine.
Okay.
But so one of the things, Joker's been flooding the chat with his knowledge, and he does have a lot of knowledge. And he started growing mushrooms. I can't remember, Joker, if it was just this year. Was it your first attempt within the last year when you started to grow mushrooms? I remember when we were hanging out, and all of a sudden I don't even remember what triggered it, but he started watching videos, and he was like, and he was almost cursing, like, damn it. Now I know what my next freaking hobby is going to be, and it's going to be growing mushrooms. And I think he's had some pretty good success at growing the mushrooms. And I would love freaking Ryan's from Ryan. Okay.
I wasn't going to say
right.
it. So,
that's right. Okay.
I'm not saying nothing. All right. It's not my son. He didn't do it. Joker did it on his own.
Yeah. He says, I didn't need another hobby. I remember that now.
And there's Ryan right now in chat saying you're welcome.
Yeah. But when Joker does something like this, Joker goes in hard and learns everything. And it's one of his great traits. Honestly, it's one of the things I love about Joker. I would love to have Jamie, you talk to him. I think that would be a fascinating conversation to sit in and listen on. I think you could learn a lot, honestly, from Joker, and he probably could learn a few things from you as well. But
I want to just get this out there. I don't like growing mushrooms. I don't care about growing mushrooms. Like, that's not what I like to do. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to talk about it, but like, people ask me about it.
She wants to eat the mushrooms.
My passion. My passion is the hunt, being out in the woods. I've dabbled a little, like I've grown shiitake mushrooms out of logs, and I've done some of the kits, and I don't know what it is. It just doesn't bring me joy. And like, that's cool. I need to learn more about it. And I do, just so that I can tell people, because they ask me about it, but I don't have that in me. I don't like growing a garden. I don't like growing, but I just like being in the woods. So yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, if you want to learn about growing mushrooms,
I do.
I'm not even. He probably thinks I'm being a troll right now, but he would be a great person to learn from, honestly.
Yeah. If he wants to if he wants, if he's willing, I would
yeah, that's a whole different topic. I'm sure he's not willing and he doesn't want to, but if it happened, you would probably learn quite a bit from him. He's an angry old grumpy guy, so yeah, he probably doesn't want to.
Okay, good.
Did you say grumpy old man?
I mean,
wow.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought he was such a sweet, innocent person.
Okay. Right.
Oh, wow, Todd. Yeah. Why don't you just get the stake out and drive that fucker? You're doing well.
He admits himself that he's a grumpy old man, so I didn't think I was breaking news.
Well, he did the 4 dots on you, so you're doing pretty good. I get that every day.
Yeah.
4 dots. Yeah, you're doing well.
I like it. All right. So, okay, going back kind of full circle to the science of this, going back to talking about when we were about the floods and now I'm going to try to use words that I heard you saying, but I have no idea really what they are. Is it the psilocybin? Did I say that right? Mycelium?
Mycelium.
Close enough. The mycelium in these floods, I suppose if you think about it logically, like Eric was bringing up, if that water is rushing and everything's flooded and that's kind of stirring that soil up, that could wash down further. But I suppose logically you could also have it coming from the other direction, and the water recedes, other things from the other morels that wash down. But it kind of surprised me to hear when you said they don't like the water, because I thought mushrooms loved the moisture and being wet and having all that water. So I would have thought, and maybe I'm the idiot, which, probably, but I would have thought a flooded area would be like the most ideal place to find mushrooms after the water has been gone. But I suppose to your point, if it doesn't recede until after they typically grow. But I think that's where I was curious if all that saturation, the chances would be that it would just delay that growth. I'm trying to think of the better.
I don't know. Would it delay it, or is it during that certain time period of the warm weather and that coming in and the colder nights? And doesn't that have some effect with that too, Jamie? I think if you go past, like here, we're in for now and for another 3-4 weeks, whatever it is. If this flood stayed up that we have right now for the next 3 weeks, we probably will never see mushroom down there, because it'll take a week and a half for that ground to even start to dry out down there, because it's going to be just nothing but a soup bowl.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we would be past the growth season, right?
For the morels, yeah. But I mean, once it dries, once the water is gone and it's not like completely saturated, then maybe there's another mushroom that's, that would grow in that area. And then that might be a nice spot, like when during a flood, or I'm sorry, during a drought, those bowls are really nice areas to go to, because they're the only places that have some moisture.
Right.
So definitely, usually it's like, right on the edge of those bowls is great, where you don't want, you just can't have it too saturated. It's like Goldilocks, like you want moisture, but not too much, it has to be like just right.
So in the beginning of the season too, is the east side the best side of a hill in the beginning of the season?
Usually it's the south and the southwest facing slopes.
Okay, because I was always told it's what the sun comes up on first.
Yep.
So
no, not first. No. You want pretty much think about like where's the warmest spot during the day. So when the sun comes up, that sun isn't that hot. And so the mushrooms, the morels, need it to be at least 50 degrees before they start growing. And so in the evening, in the middle of the day and towards the evening, that's the hotter sun and the hotter part of the day. And that's when the sun is beating on the south and the southwest facing slopes. So as the sun's going down, that's warmer. So what I normally say is like once once the lilacs start to bloom. Do you have lilacs down there? I don't know. Is that a thing?
We have a few,
Okay.
not a lot.
I don't know what the trigger is, and maybe when the oak leaves are the size of squirrel ears, or when dandelions start to go to seed. Those are some other triggers. So once that the lilacs bloom, that first, like, say, we'll just say that the morel season is 3 weeks long. So that first week, you want to hit that south and southwest facing slope, so the warmest areas. And then so like week 2, then you kind of go to the more flatlands where, now the southwest is getting, warm. It's kind of done its thing. Then you want to hit the flatlands in the second week. And then the third week, you would do like the north facing slopes or the ravines or the cooler areas. So you just kind of like go up and over the hill basically as the season goes on, because they don't like it too hot, so as the year as it gets warmer, it likes the cooler areas.
See, I've always gone by the May apples. When the May apples, and that's just what I've always been taught. When the May apples come up and they start to get the bud,
Okay.
that's when the mushrooms are ready. That's an old wives' tale, I know, because my granddad used to tell it to me. But it seemed to work for us.
Sure. We don't really have many May apples around here, so that's not something I use. I have heard people say that they grow with the May apples, but I've also heard people say that's not actually true. But May apples are in the right conditions of where morels like to grow, so a lot of times you will find them there, but they're not associated with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So when are you going to take me morel hunting? In May?
Well, I've got a few classes you can sign up to.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
I get so busy during May. So my busiest month of the year is May. So it's hard for, to just go out casually. But yeah, typically it's the whole month of May that you have, at least around here. So, middle of May is probably the best.
So if people are in Minnesota that are watching or listening, and they are interested in getting in on one of your classes that you have coming up, how do they find that? And we do have had a few people kind of put your command in, !chick will bring you to Jamie's website. Is that the best place for people to go to sign up for things? Is your website?
Yeah, chickofthewoods.com. I have an events I think it's called events tab, so all of my classes are there. I do this week. I happen to have an online morel mushroom hunting tips and tricks class. Ooh. So that's the online ones those are like $39 and about 2 hours long. So then I'll get into the nitty gritty and all the details of the technology and what I use to help you find the spots. And so you can do the online thing. And then I have the tree identification class is the week after that. That one's in person. But then the main thing that I love the most is the in-person mushroom hunts. So starting the end of April, and I would say any class during May I'll focus on how to find and identify morels, but we'll be looking for other springtime mushrooms as well. And I do not guarantee that we will find them, but I guarantee I'll bring you to spots where I have found them and that they do grow. So we talk. So it's usually a 3.5 hour long class. The first hour, like Todd, like we did with you, like we talk about the basics of foraging, and then poisonous mushrooms and lookalikes. And I'll have fresh mushrooms on hand, so we can actually pass them around and people can look at them and touch them and smell them. And so if we don't find them in the wild, at least then people can see them. And so then we'll go out hunting for about 1.5 to 2 hours and see what we can find and come back. And then we talk about the mushrooms that we find also again and look through everybody's baskets and make sure they know what they've got. And then they get to bring home whatever mushrooms they find. Some of them, sometimes I do a tasting after too, where I'll cook up wild mushrooms in the woods. Yeah.
A little catch and cook.
Yeah.
As people say in the fishing world, a little catch and cook. You can use that phrase, Jamie.
Pick and cook. Okay.
Pick and we'll come up with a catchy tune for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Eric, you gonna sign up for the online morel tips and tricks?
I don't know. I'll probably be out morel hunting.
You probably, you don't need to do online.
It's over with now. I mean, once this rain stops, as soon as my stream's over in the morning, I'm going morel mushroom hunting.
Yeah, get out there. Yeah, I hope you find some. You gonna send pictures if you do?
Yeah. I mean, the leaves are exploding on the trees here right now. I mean, just since Wednesday, we had that 85, 83 degree weather, and then we got that Wednesday night, Thursday night, real warm rain. It only got down to like 70 degrees at night, and these trees just, they're like exploding here, and the undergrowth is as much rain as we had. I can imagine what it's going to look like when I go back into the woods now.
Yep. Frickin' mud.
Do you have any areas in more upland areas?
We're flat.
Oh.
We're as flat as a pancake here. So, yeah, it's not real. We're pretty flat.
Yeah.
Well, you can go out and look for other mushrooms. There are so many other mushrooms. Do you guys get
just
the
want morels? I just want the morels.
He's an elitist.
I never really trusted any other, and I know you're going to yell at me, but
yeah, I am.
I just never trusted other mushrooms because I was never taught that way with my granddad.
Well,
he brought me up for morels. He brought me up for hen of the woods, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Well, sometimes can teach an old dog new tricks, you know.
Not this dog. Not this old dog.
No, but like you just need to learn a thing or two. You know, there's mushrooms they call the foolproof 4, you know, like the puffball. The only thing you're gonna confuse that with would be like a volleyball. Like there's nothing else that looks like a puffball. And and it's edible.
And I don't think there's any taste to them though.
No, I mean, yeah, that's like my least favorite mushroom. But like as long as like now like there's no other poisonous look-alike to the puffball.
Right.
And then the other thing you need to know is that it needs to be pure white inside, like a marshmallow. Once as it gets older, it'll start turning yellow and green.
Brown and yellow, yeah.
Yeah, and like nothing else looks like a chicken of the woods, or a chick of the wood. So like there's a few that are just, if you just know a couple things, you just need to know, like that's the main thing that we talk about when we're in my classes. Like 1, like how do you identify this mushroom, and 2, does it have any lookalikes? The lookalikes might be edible or they might be poisonous. So for beginners, you just don't eat any mushrooms that look like the deadly poisonous mushrooms, and those are typically your guild mushrooms that grow on the ground. Those are a little bit trickier and stuff. So,
okay. So there is a question, or there is a comment, kind of was a question that came up in the chat, and I had to Google it because I thought maybe he was trying to play a joke on us, but this is a real thing. Fun Guys glasses.
Oh yeah.
Do they work?
I have a couple pair.
Do you really?
Yeah. And in full disclosure, I asked them to send me a couple pair because I had so many people asking about them. So he sent them to me, and I bring those out on my hunts too, so people can try them out. And I'll say this: they are not magical. It's not gonna they're not gonna just like pop out at you, but it does help. It does brighten them up a little bit. So they help. They're not magic, but they help. So like I like to have them, and like once I kind of I don't wear them the whole time. I'll kind of flip between, I like to see the contrast because you're looking and then you put them on and then other things will pop out. So I think
good for fishing.
Do they find
fish?
fish?
Down in the water? Do they find fish for you?
They're not polarized. No,
Dang it.
but they are. Yeah, they're good for shed hunting too. So shed, because they've designed it to pick up the color of that kind of light tan, the color of morels. So that's what pops out. So deer sheds also pop out as well. So I know a lot of people that get them for that.
Interesting.
They're expensive. It's like, it sucks that they're so expensive. They're like $80 or something. So
I mean, that's not that bad. I mean, no.
And the other thing that I do like about them too is like just because they do brighten things up. So walking through the woods, you've got all the sticks and stuff, so it helps protect your eyes from getting poked. But I don't ever want to wear sunglasses, and I don't wear regular glasses in the woods. So, you've got that added protection from it too. So that's nice. But I guess I only buy the $12, cheapy sunglasses when I buy glasses.
These are cool. I like these. Good question, Walleye. I didn't think it was a legit question. I thought he was just teasing.
But a quick story about that too. When I was talking to the guy, they used it for finding a lost person. So they looked and looked and looked for this
for
person.
The bones.
Well, it wasn't down to bones yet. It was somebody that had died though, and they found the they looked and looked, and once they finally used the glasses, they ended up finding them because the skin, that's also the same color as the morels too. So that was kind of interesting. So if you need to find a dead body,
Yeah, you need to send a pair of these glasses to Buckeye State Trooper. So he can leverage them somehow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Never know. All right. Well, Jaime, fantastic conversation. Appreciate you coming back and talking with us again, mostly about morels, but overall, a little bit of mushrooms overall.
There's so much to talk about with them. I could talk all night. But yeah, we covered a good amount.
That's the thing that I'm finding, based on our first conversation and then getting to know you and going to the fair that you put on. Foraging it's a vast world that I had no idea it really existed to the level that it does. And there is a lot to learn about mushrooms and trees in general. It's actually pretty crazy, and it's super interesting. And I can see, going back to Joker, why he got sucked in. And I know you don't grow them, but he got sucked into growing them as he was learning. And I get why. Like it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, they're so fun to watch grow. They really are. I love, having the little kits when I actually make it work. They're just like, they're so cute.
Yeah. All right. So, any other questions, Eric? Did I miss any from chat, or do you have any more?
No, I'm looking over chat. I don't
think I missed any.
If they do want to join my class, I'll talk about, I know we talked about a lot of the basics here, but I talk about the technology that I use, and there's some apps and websites and stuff to help really narrow your focus, I guess. But
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, everybody check out Jaime's website. If you're local, get in on some of these classes. And I know we threatened it last time we had Jaime on, of trying to figure out how to do a virtual class. We need to just, Jaime, and we've talked about it a few times now. I brought it up to you, and I think we just need to sit down and kind of figure out the logistics and trying to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people from both Eric's community and mine, the outdoors people, would be interested in learning that. I mean, even if it's 5-10 people, I think it would be, I'd be game. I'd be in.
Yeah.
So more, if you want to stay abreast on any happenings with doing an online virtual foraging class with Jaime, join the Discord, !Discord, if you're in the Twitch chat. or check out the Discord link down below on the YouTube channel.
And if you want to stay and find out about my classes and events, you can subscribe to the newsletter. That's probably the best way. If you go to like my homepage and scroll down, you can subscribe to my newsletter. And then because I've got some classes on my website, but I'll be adding more as the year goes on. And then, I've got Facebook and Instagram, which, that's more fun. It's fun to follow maybe what I'm finding and stuff, but with algorithms, it's just like, you might never see my stuff ever again, even if you want to, if you want to. So it seems like you have to go back to email these days in order to get the information that you want, because there's so many pages I follow and I want to know their information, but it just doesn't pop up. So I don't send a lot of emails, I promise.
That's all I ever get from you is emails. Constant email. She had to change her settings just so I'd stop getting her emails the other day.
Oh, God.
All right. Let's do the recipe. We got a recipe. Let's do the recipe. Jamie, thanks again.
Yeah.
And we're gonna switch over to our recipe. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. We'll chat with you here in just a few minutes once we're done. Let's switch over to the recipe and let's get that going. So this week's recipe, morel risotto. I've never had a risotto. So this is two things that I've never eaten in my entire life. Morel mushrooms with risotto. But to Eric's point at the beginning, a simple recipe. And when I talked to Jamie about a recipe earlier today, she's like, salt and butter. There's your recipe, salt and butter. And Eric, you use eggs to bread them and then like a flour to bread them and then just fry them up in a pan, right?
I use my Texas Select seasoning in there and inside the flour, and
there you
put
go.
them in there and drop them in the frying pan.
So and this is ironically this was not done on purpose, but if you Google morel recipes, the first freaking recipe that comes up, of course, is from Hank. So we do have another Hank Shaw recipe for morel risotto. And I like it because it kind of goes into both for the fresh morels and for dried morels. There's two different approaches. So we'll pull, and I finally got caught up and posted all of the other recipes that we've had pop up on the show into our Discord recipes channel. I got that caught up today. I'll do better job of keeping those recipes posted in there. But yeah, I don't know if I would try it. But I also don't know that I've ever. It would have nothing to do with the mushrooms, to be honest. I'm excited. I'm actually excited to try a morel mushroom this year. I hope I can get the chance. I didn't think I would ever utter those words, but I'm actually excited to give it a try. You guys have inspired me, Eric. You've inspired me. You just love them so much that they have to be good.
I do. I enjoy the heck out of morel mushrooms. That is my best mushroom, even at the stores. I'd rather have a morel mushroom over a store-bought mushroom any day of the week.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well, I don't know what we have going on next week, and then I can't even believe we're already halfway through April next week, and then it's Easter. It's already Easter coming up, and we had the catfish guy for Easter, the noodling dude. But I didn't realize that day was Easter, so I might have to check in with him to make sure that he knew it was Easter. My guess is neither one of us had any idea that it was going to be Easter that weekend. But we'll figure things out, and maybe it's not going to dry up by next weekend, is it? For you?
Heck no. It'll be 3 weeks before I can even get down into the property if it doesn't rain.
Frickin' mud. All right. Well, we'll just have to hold off on Sasquatch hunt for a while until we can get you in a proper position for the Sasquatch. Got to lure him in again.
I'm bringing. Jamie's gonna come down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, she's gonna come down and go on the Sasquatch hunt. He's gonna show us where all the mushrooms are. He knows where they are.
Well, I kind of forgot. Well, if Jamie comes down to go hunting for Sasquatches with you, I think she should bring her boyfriend, because this dude's arms are the size of an oak tree's trunk. Like, his arms are massive. And what was kind of funny is Buzzard just posted the picture of, I already forget the guy's name. Mike something. Is it Mike something? The dude with the hands that are like the size of a continent. Jeff. That was close. Mike, Jeff.
Mike, Jeff. Get it.
One of the same. But Jamie's boyfriend is actually an arm wrestler and is going to be arm wrestling that dude, that guy with those massive hands, on May 10th. And I can't freaking wait to go. I'm excited to go and check it out. I'm excited. Eric, you want to come up and go to the arm wrestling match with me?
Oh, no. No, because I would have to arm wrestle her boyfriend and everyone, and they would all be disappointed when I won. Look at them guns. Gosh.
I didn't think of that. It's probably a good idea. You don't come. You don't want to ruin all those egos in that entire arm wrestling league.
That's right. All
Good
them
thinking.
young guys, they couldn't handle this old man.
No. Nope. And just think, all you would probably have to do is just pick your nose real quick right before you lock in. And you're probably going to be good.
Todd, you did so well tonight. Why did you just ruin it?
It's called strategy, my friend. If you lack the strength, which I do, you have to have strategy.
You mean like kicking the apple off of Walleye's head?
Well, that was just skill. That was just pure skill and agility. That's all that was.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Skipping fishing.
Oh, wow, Todd.
Is that fishing opener? Jamie, I'm going to have to apologize. So, if just FaceTime me and I'll watch through the FaceTime. I didn't realize that was fishing opener. Yeah, no, I'm going fishing. Go to the wrestling thing. They'll be all right fishing without you. It'll be okay, Todd. You'll be fine. No, I finally got invited to go. I'm going. All right. Thanks for that reminder, Walleye. All right, so we'll be back next week with what we'll know hopefully this week, and we'll be back. So thanks for everybody for coming and hanging out and watching and listening. Jamie can hear us still. Thank you, Jamie, again for spending more time with us. And until next weekend for Cast and Camo, I'm Todd.
And I'm Eric.
We'll see you later.